Morning, everyone. I'm checking the cameras and the voice setting for now. Is it fine? Yeah. Okay, let's start sculpting. So we're gonna make a dark elf today, and I need to start from scratch. So I'll start with the head, and then the rough shape of the body, and then I think it will be done. That's all for today, I guess. So I think making the base body, and then getting the general shape, and then thinking about what kind of like costume or like hairstyle it's gonna need would be the entire thing for this stream. Can you hear me fine? I think it's working fine, yeah. I was like looking for references for dark elves, and like after searching elves and like fantasy style tags or like words, like YouTube started to recommend me Lord of the Rings related mythologies, and I was like binge watching through Tolkien's like mythology for a long time. Like I forgot, like I lost track of my like searching for the dark elf references and stuff like that. So I may need to spend more time like researching stuff. But those kind of like mythologies are really fun to watch. Like, especially Tolkien's mythologies are really polished in a way. And since I'm a fan of like Magic the Gathering and the Lord of the Rings series, I'm not really a like fan. Like what do you call those? I'm a casual fan. I'm not really a like huge dedicated fan of the series, but like if you claim to be a fan, a lot of people assume you are an expert at the thing, and then will try to like battle you with lore. But I'm a casual fan, so. So yeah, like when I was searching a lot of like resources or like references for dark elves, a lot of the stuff I was surprised that like a lot of the materials or a lot of the details are coming from like Korean games, like Lineage 2 and stuff like that. I think I know Skyrim has a couple of like Dark Elf references, but they're not really integrated into the game. I'm not sure I'm correct or saying the correct things, but I don't know. Hmm. Like, honestly, I'm kind of like surprised that I haven't played a game where Dark Elves are a main character, or the playable characters are used. So I don't really have a job setting for this kind of like character. I'm thinking, like, I was wondering if it's better to like hold a scythe or a knife, but I was wondering, would it be better to have like a job title like a mage or a thief? But last time we made a cyborg character, it was an assassin, so I was wondering, would it be better to do a mage instead of those? Baldur's Gate? Role-playing video game sets. Huh. Yeah. Honestly, I like the design element of like Dark Elves, but I haven't really made any Dark Elves in the past, so. Oh, dynamite. Yeah, I know Elder Scrolls or Skyrim have a couple of like Dark Elf settings, but I don't think I played those as playable characters. Like I played with the I don't recall the name of the race, but the lizard one. Huh. Interesting. Hey Alex. As usual. Recently I was busy watching a couple of animes. I was watching Kakegurui. Which was pretty fun to watch. I watched up till the end of the second season, and for me, like, it was really abrupt ending, so that was a sad part. But like, I can expect that to happen because it's still continuing on. Yeah, basically, it happens with all the like anime series or the manga series. If they have some kind of like difference between the mediums, they'll have to like adjust their stuff. Hey, welcome. I'm trying to make a dark elf from scratch, so I just started from a sphere, and then how many minutes has passed? So 18 minutes. So just using 18 minutes, I'm able to like just make a rough body shape. So I'm gonna adjust the body shape from here till the end of the stream today. Yeah, you can just make fingers with the new feature called mesh balloons. So you can just like do this and then just connect them. It's pretty easy to get the shapes, but sometimes you need to like adjust them as you go along, because if you just like make some balloons and then try to connect them, you're gonna stumble upon these kind of like shapes which is not really following the anatomy. So you gotta sometimes adjust, stop and adjust, like rotate from a different angle, check to see if you're following the anatomy. So yeah, but it's a really good way to get the rough shapes going, and you can adjust these kind of like shapes all the time. So hey IR Scott, hey Ian. Can I request using Another material. What? Why not? Why not? Why not red wax? Sorry, my English is going off today. I can't really speak. Well, yeah, I can switch to matte cap gray or ZBrush material. Hey. Okay, if you complain about red wax, then I'll change this to another color then. I think it was hue. Okay, blue wax then. No need for cavity detection. We maybe need to tweak some highlights. Don't need cavity detection this much. 0.7 opacity 100 transition no intensity 1.5. Why do you use snake hook instead of move brush? I think it's just comes down to preferences. So for example, if I want to move the surface, and then snake hook can do this, right? Like you can jiggle or you can like curve in the middle of the stroke. But if you switch to move, you can like it doesn't like move like what snake hook is doing. It's like going directly to this area, but if you go to snake hook, you can have this kind of like curve, so it's not a straight action. So I prefer to have this kind of like curve or grabbing to happen on a surface. So that's the reason why I prefer to use snake hook compared to move. So it's just, it does come down to preferences. It's currently 6:50 in JST, and it's starting to get hot. So let me put some air conditioning on. It's really humid in Japan, so usually it really gets like sweaty and like humid very quickly. It's not really comfortable. Like if you have the opportunity to come to Japan, the best season is around spring, but spring season is really popular, so the ticket price will like skyrocket, and then you have those other like accommodation things like hotels to book and stuff like those, so that will be expensive. But if you come in the spring season, no, the autumn season, it's a bit like less pricey, and it's not too hot, it's not too cold. So I usually recommend not to come to Japan in the summer, because it's really humid and hot, and like you might get really sick after if you're not really used to the like temperature differences and the humidity in Japan. So like even the person like me living in Japan is like kind of like fed up with the temperature in Japan. So it's 12:51 a.m. in Moscow. Huh. Yeah, currently you can't really go. Hey. Well, to be honest, like I'm kind of an indoor kind of a guy, so like if I usually have the weekends, I usually don't want to go outside. So yeah, nothing really changed for me during the COVID season. Yeah, try it. Yeah, exactly. It really depends on how you use it. So if you're making like hard surface models, I think ZBrush would be the way to go. But if you're making organics or creature models or humans, then likely Snakehook would produce a better result or natural like curvature to the model. But sometimes it might be harder to control. So may need to spend a bit more time to like actually get used to it. Thanks. I usually get a lot of questions related to like making anime heads, and like usually it's better to like get the nodes and the eye positions correct, and then like make sure to make the faces a bit flat than you're used to. And then yeah, everybody says that, and I totally agree. It's simple in like it's not there's no really hard like geometry or like hard shape to follow, but at the same time, because it's simple, it's really hard to get it right. So and usually you can see like usually you need to think about two angles basically. So if it looks great from the front and then from the side it looks fine, then what you need to do is you just need to fill the middle parts, like the diagonal positions, and that's pretty much it. And that's why like a lot of like 3D studios making anime heads for like using Maya or Max is like just following the box modeling method. They don't really use the diagonal or the perspective view that much. They just use the side view of the illustration and then try to get that correct, and then try to follow the front view and then get that correct. And then if you follow those two, then it's not really hard to do. But the hard part is getting the smaller details or the smaller contours correct. So yeah, so the books and the videos are usually in Japanese, so that's another whole subject. Yeah, I agree. I do think there's a sudden rise in popularity in the 3D field because of the like Genshin Impact or other like Chinese 3D games. But I don't know, I don't see much tutorials covering anime heads, to be honest. Would you prefer to use sculptures for details, or would you prefer to use Dynamesh? For details, I wouldn't use both. You need to use multi-resolution mesh editing to get the details done. So I usually just avoid using sculptures for details and stuff like those. Hey! I think it was $60 as the original price. But with that amount of knowledge, the $60 is cheap. How do you reach apologize? I usually just use ZBrush. I can show you after this. So I'm currently trying to get the eye sockets from this. I just use masking and then assigning groups and then smoothing. And then after this, I would like to make this part flat. Like this. And then after this, I usually retopologize with the ZBrush, and then enable keep groups, and then hit 10K should be fine. And then done. It's clean. And like oof, that's a high price. So if the front looks like you have the total length of the head, you have the middle position around here, and then you have the 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, right? And then what I want to do is, like, if you look from the side, this like bump is not really what I want. What I want is more this kind of like shape. So I'm gonna adjust this. So what you need to do is, if you look from the side, it looks fine, right? Like this kind of like shape is fine. Maybe I need to adjust it a bit, but most of it is fine. And the front is fine, but I want to change the diagonal. What should I do? Is, like, usually what you want to do is push this back a bit. Like this. And then you can see the difference between the before and after. So what I did is I just pushed this back. So the difference is this part. I just pushed it back. So usually what you need to adjust is this kind of like thing. You just need to push or pull it back. No. Push it back or pull it to the front. So you need to control this kind of like depth. So first you need to adjust the front, you just need to adjust the side, and then you tweak the in between, like this. And for example, the mouth is like really on the low position, so I just want to move this up a bit. Maybe not too up. And these kind of like subtle changes adds up really quickly. Because you don't really have the amount of like details on top of the face. These kind of like proportions and the balance and subtle changes in the like curve will really add up at the end. And I would like to change the eye sockets a bit because it's an elf, and it will look odd if the elf face is a bit wide. So I usually want to adjust this. And it's the same for this. You can see it's a bit like strong in the curve, in the change of the curve, and I don't really want this. So what I need to do is tweak the end of the eye sockets. So something like this. And it's usually how I do my faces, but it really depends on how, like, what kind of like character you're making. And usually my character's face looks all the same, so I would like to change some stuff because it's gonna look boring. And it's like you need to get the shape and then you need to start tweaking. And usually figurine artists don't really paint eyes until the end, but I usually start like painting the eyes really quickly because I can see what the eye sockets or the eye placement will be. There's Sword 2.5 has a different Dark Elf but Dungeons and Dragons. I don't recall. Like I read a couple of articles before I did the stream, and I think Dark Elves was covered in Dungeons and Dragons, but it had a different name. I don't know what specifically it was. Drow Elves? Yeah. Something like that, yeah. Oh, it's called Epic Pen? Epic Pen. So that's what I'm using for drawing on the screen. It's usually for demonstration purposes, so it's not really. It's sometimes used like handy for like drawing on top of the sculpt, but yeah, it's a separate piece of software. No problem. Maybe I want the legs a bit longer. Do you work in any company for games? No. I work for Pixologic, so. Maybe I need to adjust the resolution for this one because it's a bit too high to adjust the shapes. Usually you want to keep the resolutions a bit low if you're starting and just starting out the shapes. So if you have it too high, it's gonna like mess up your shape. It's gonna take more time to get the shapes correctly. Is there a way to prevent the select lasso to select the other side of the mesh? It's a nightmare to find a good angle trying to... The other side of the mesh? You mean the back? You can do this first. And then like try to select this with like select lasso. There's no backface masking or something like that to prevent you from like selecting the back, so it's better to just like hide the back first and then try it. Or pre-polygroup it. So what you want to do is like select this part, press Ctrl W to get a different polygroup, and then trying to do it. So this is faster. Yep. I'm maybe thinking about like having a job title like a I'm thinking about like battle mage. So it's not like a mage, but like she fights. So the dressing would not be really like heavily skirted or something like that. So she can move around, she can use the scythe to fight. And she has a couple of like summoning skills to use. So she is a mage, but maybe she could fight as well. Could be interesting. I don't know why, but like most of my MMO experience, like I don't usually use mage. I don't know why. Don't ask me. But yeah, I prefer to use like a close combat character, like a knight or a thief. Also, I need to think about the hairstyles as well. Like, I haven't really got into that yet, so. Okay, I'm gonna connect the legs and the arms. So I can tweak them a bit more. What's the purpose from the stream? I'm just casually sculpting. You can ask any questions related to ZBrush or in ZBrush Core. I'll try to answer them, but I can't really talk about like future development stuff. I've been using ZBrush for 8 years now, I guess. I started from 2013, that's what I recall. and I started using it from July, so it's, yeah, close to 8 years. Well, the purpose is to like interact with the community, and if they have any questions, you can try to ask. And for me, it's a good opportunity to sculpt and talk to the community as well. So it's pretty much fun. I'm trying to learn more anatomy stuff because, like, as you can see, like, anime sculpt doesn't really require you to have the like in-depth knowledge of anatomy compared to the like photorealistic characters and stuff like that. So I would love to like learn about anatomy stuff in the future. I'm reading books, but like it's not really the same level. Do you use the pen buttons? Yeah, like I use the finger position buttons like right here. So you have two buttons, and one is right click. I think the other one was double click in my setting. But I don't use the second one. Like I usually use the first button with my pointing finger. Yeah, I need to do some practice. Like I need to sculpt some photorealistic models more, so I get the better image of like the muscle structures and the bone structures. Like I think I generally have the like understanding of the muscle structures, but I can't really distinguish between the fat and the muscle structure. So I can't really control how much fat the character is. So I can't really understand the allocation of the fat, and so that's where I think I'm like struggling to get the understanding. I do look at references and like I do try to get these things correctly, but with anime models it's kind of like hard because it's not really required to like follow those. If it doesn't like, even if the anatomy looks off, if it's cute or like if it fits the character's like description, it's not really a big deal. So like you can just bypass them, and that's kind of the problem for me. But if you have the understanding of the those kind of like more anatomy stuff, it should show in your sculpt. So yeah, I'm trying. I'll try. I just started using ZBrush today. Oh, nice. I usually recommend the beginner stream from Joseph, because he covers all the element of the things you need for beginners. Yeah, so this one. So I usually recommend this. So if you get confused, just watch those tutorials or watch those live streams, and then if you have any questions, you can reach out to the community. Or also there's a URL over there in the middle of the stream, and you can see a Discord server. You can join there as well. You can ask questions over there too. Like, our Discord community is really nice. You can ask a lot of questions, but they'll try to cover it. No problem. Do you practice to the next Wonder Festival? Yeah. For the next Wonder Festival, I'm pretty much finished. I only have one piece that I have to like split, but most of the stuff is already done because of COVID. All the production is pushed back for a couple like events, so most of the stuff is already finished, and I just need to get the original model to be split and then polished. For the original one, it's from the illustrator from it's the model from the past stream I did in Japanese. So it's the collaboration with Leica 9. And the future project I'm working on is Saten-san, yeah. Oh no, I need to split 2 models. And currently I'm mostly done with 1, and I just need to do another one then, so 2. Sculpting? Yeah, sculpting is hard, you know. Yeah, like learning the software itself is not really hard, but like learning the art and what makes it great it takes time. So if you struggle to do it, like you just need to learn more things and then read more books. Maybe find a class that could teach you additional things, and then you get more understanding related to sculpting. if you don't really get how to use the software, then it's more likely that you should watch more tutorials. And a lot of people start using ZBrush for making characters, but characters are really hard to start at the beginning. So usually I recommend making creatures or some mascot characters. It's simpler, and then you can understand the workflow better, and then you can like jump into characters. But jumping into characters from the beginning or the get-go is really hard, because you need to know about anatomy, you need to know about a lot of things, workflows, how to use the software, how to sculpt, those kind of like things. And especially when you know how the character looks or how the like human anatomy should look, it's gonna be discouraging at the end if you can't really like make it look good. So if you're having a hard time doing it, then yeah, try to make some creatures and other things than characters. Yeah, like making aliens doesn't need anatomy. Making good aliens needs anatomy. Also, if you want a couple of like critiques, you can join the stream, which is done by Thomas Wittelsbach. He does a lot of like critiques for you, so you can send the ZTL files, and he'll take a look at it, and then he'll comment you on stream, and you'll learn a lot of things like anatomy, and he doesn't go harsh on beginners, so he'll see what level you're on, and will try to like navigate you from what kind of like stuff you need to learn. Start off with stuff we're not used to seeing, like animals and creatures. Huh. I haven't taken his class, so I don't really know what kind of like methods he's gonna teach. Also, you can like take a look at other people's streams, like find the artists you would like or like to learn from, and then just binge watch that stream. Usually you will learn something. I think we have like close to 30 or 40 people who's streaming on ZBrush Live. Including a couple of casual ones to the every week personnel. So yeah, you have wide variety of people doing the streams. So you can find who fits your needs. Honestly, I don't really know. I know the title of the series, but I'm not really sure about the stories and the backgrounds of the stuff. I know the Japanese title of the series. Yeah, no problem. What's the thing keeps you motivating to learn to use ZBrush more better and better? That's pretty hard. Well, I have a favorite character in mind, and like I usually make that specific character every single time like I have the opportunity to do so, and like there's no company making that specific character, so I usually want more figurines for that character, but nobody else is making it, so I'm the only one making it. So usually I need to be better at making characters or making that specific character, so that makes me want to train more. I don't know if it makes sense. Like, let's say if you like Legolas, like from Lord of the Rings, and nobody else is making Legolas, and if you're the only one making Legolas, and then if your skill is not really that level of the like the if you see other people better than you making things, and then you want to see a better version of that Legolas or the thing you're making, then that will motivate you to be better at something. So for me, that's my motivation. So I have a favorite character. I want that character's sculpt to be better. So basically a super fan. What's the hardest part of making the character you enjoy? The anatomy, clothing, armor? For me, the first thing would be anatomy. Then the second thing would be the clothing, and the third one would be the posing. So if I want the character to be cute, then I have to understand what makes that specific character cute, or what kind of like pose makes that cute. Hello, no, I'm answering Twitch questions and YouTube questions and sometimes Facebook questions, but what was your question? I don't think you asked me anything. Oh, sorry. Yeah, so hello. So I think I was middle of like answering another thing. A satin simp, yeah, basically that. I sometimes make it too thick, and some people get upset that I make it too thick. Some people may be happy about it, but I don't know. I usually get the angry comments. Do you do it in ZBrush or export it? No, I just do it in ZBrush. Like, I don't intend my model to be used for animations or games, so most of the time I just do the posing in ZBrush. I think in the next stream, after I did the hairs and stuff, I think I'll do the posing. Do you apply anatomy knowledge to an anime style model as if real life characters? It depends. Like, if you have a masculine character, then you need to follow more anatomy stuff or more anatomical references. But for anime models, you're not gonna have the 100% like accurate kind of like anatomy. So what you would do is you learn about the fundamentals of anatomy, and then you'll try to like fit that kind of like general understanding of the anatomy to the anime model, and you don't really need to have the 100% like replication of the anatomy to that model. Especially like if you look at the head, only thing I'm like following is like the one like the half rule. Like your eyes are basically in the middle part, and then you have the nose around like 1/3 from each other. So this is the basic rule, and the maybe I want the ears a bit more on the back, but usually if you make the ears, it's gonna be in the center of the head. So basic stuff you need to follow, but you're not gonna follow 100% of the anatomy. Yeah, and for each part, like if you have more bulging like arm, then you're gonna have a more realistic muscle structure on that part, but you don't really need to have the entire body to follow that kind of like detail all along. So you can take one part of the model to be realistic, and then you can swap in and out by changing the parameters for each areas, and that's how you like adjust these kind of like anatomical shapes and details you want to have on the model. So for example, if you want a cute character, you don't need to have like the entire like shoulder structure to be like following anatomy is like this. It kind of like gets in the way of the cuteness. Will you be painting in eyes or sculpting them with the spheres or for the eyeball? I usually assign a separate geometry. For example, I take something like this and then attach it to the face, something like this, and then use something like ZBrush, and then move it around like this. So I have a separate geometry that I can paint on, so it doesn't really affect the resolution or the poly counts of the head. So that's what I usually tend to do, but it really depends on how you want to do it. But you can paint it, you can have a separate geometry, and if you're making more a non like traditional anime head, or if you're making something more specific to animations, then you need to have some like eye sockets for ball eye kind of like shape. I'm a game dev for Bayonet and Ricochet miniatures. We do ZBrush sculpting quite regularly on Twitch. How does get the Pixologic support for what we are doing, as there are very few ZBrush streamers on Twitch? Well, you can contact our support team, and then I think they can direct you to the person who is in charge of like streams or supporting. So you can send a message from start a conversation on the top right, and then you can send out the details what you want. I usually do the marketing, but I'm more focused on the Japanese side. So if you want to do some, if you want to talk to someone who can hook you up, then it's more on the US side. So if you could contact through support, it will help us a lot. What do you think about self-learning? Does it require to a person having a good talent nowadays, or it's easier to learn by yourself whatever you want nowadays? Depends. Like I'm a huge, because of my background, I'm used to like nobody taught me how to use 3D or how to use ZBrush. So from my background, I tend to like tell people you can do it yourself, but if you want guidance, then you can take some classes and see what fits you the best. You can do both as well. Like you can take a couple of like self-education materials, like watching YouTube videos and stuff like that, and then if you don't feel it's correct or right, you can just contact the class or like, take a couple of classes, or even you can try to contact artists that give you like feedback by like sending portfolios or like receiving critiques. You can do that as well. So it really depends on how you want to learn things. But I tend to like spend. I prefer to have. I prefer to spend more time like learning by myself, and then if I need to have feedback, I will try to contact artists and then ask them to give me a blunt response to it. Any level are welcome if you want to stream on Pixologic channel. Well, you have a bit of a requirement, but yeah, send us a portfolio if you want to do the stream. By the way, there's a entrance form you can fill out. So if you go to the ZBrush Live page, there's a artist sign up page you can fill out. Then we'll take a look and then try to contact you. How would you rotate the entire arm back when the sculpt is done? So, like, you want to, like, bend back after you, like, bent the elbows and stuff? Oh, it's not zero meshed. Zero mesh. So usually what you want to do is you want to store the T-pose first as a layer, and then bend it, and then move back the layer. So I'll show you what I mean. I need to project the details. Project from history. Okay, and then, like, for example, I start from a T-pose, enable layers, and then bend it like this, for example, and then stop the recording. And then you can have something like this. But usually, if you're planning to, like, keep the T-pose, and then if you want to sculpt the details on top of it, like, I usually don't recommend people to pose the model, because the final position is T-pose, so you should sculpt in T-pose. But if you need to do the posing or temporary posing while you want to check if the elbows looks correct or not, then you can use the layers to get the things moving. But you should separate the details on the separate layer. So for example, I can, like, sculpt something on top, but it's not gonna affect the posing like this. So you can do, you should separate the details and the arm movement. But if you're planning on making games, and then if you want to sculpt the T-pose, I usually just recommend people to just sculpt on the T-pose itself, not moving it around. Oh. Okay, the symmetry is off. I started around 6:30, right? Then, yeah, close to 1 hour and a half. For the skin colors, like I'm wondering if it's good to do a like a brown kind of like skin or a dark like you see a couple of games covering like blue kind of like tinge. Like these kind of like skin colors. But I think I prefer this kind of like skin color. Yeah, there's a couple of like games with blue kind of like colors. So I was wondering which should be the best. Which would be the best. So yeah, I need to think about it, but yeah. Hey. I don't know why, but like for today, like I can't really speak English for some reason. Like I'm stumbling upon a lot of like words in my head, and then like having a hard time saying them. And I was like typing a lot today in Japanese, and I don't know why, but like I have a period where you can't speak English nor Japanese. I don't know why, but yeah, it really hurts my head. Like I found a lot of typos in my text in Japanese, and then at the same time, like I'm struggling to type English. So like I had a couple of like texts between my coworkers, and I was like constantly typing the wrong text and like wrong spellings. I don't know if you guys can talk or speak two languages, and if you experience these kind of like stuff, but man, it's hard. Today is like especially hard. I don't know why it happens. Yeah, multi-language is really hard. Like I had a case where I was like translating Japanese to English, and it got swapped in midway, and I was like saying English, and then was like talking to talking to a British guy in Japanese. So I was like, mixing languages in the middle of the sentence. If I go back and forth between two languages, I'm gonna break my brain. Yeah, I had another artist who was like speaking English, and since he was Canadian, he was like able to speak French, and he asked me to translate English to Japanese, and he was speaking to me in French. So that kind of like stuff is pretty common, I think. So. Yeah, so he was like speaking to me in French, and he was asking me to translate that. So I wasn't able to do it, and I asked again to him like, could you say that in English? And he was like, "What are you talking about?" Like his face was like confused. Like he was like, "Why? I told you in English," kind of like face. And he suddenly realized he was speaking in French. Yeah, it's pretty funny. And I'm kind of like glad that I'm not the only one who is doing those kind of like stuff. And we worked with another like translator who was I think it was British, and yeah, he was also mixing up English and Japanese in the middle of the sentence. I'm speaking two languages in English and Germany. Oh, German. Yeah, might be hard. And it's really hard for me to like remove the intonations or like how I speak in Japanese, even I'm speaking English. I'm trying my best to not like interfere my English with my Japanese pronunciations, but yeah, sometimes it's really hard to get mixed because I'm speaking Japanese and my tongue is like um, adjusting to it. So, and I heard it's mainly the jaw and the tongues which affects the pronunciation of the language. So it kind of depends on how you develop your jaw movement and the tongue movement in a younger age. But for me, I should be able to do that, but like I kind of like forgot how to pronounce things. So it's always hard for me to like jump back and forth between two languages. Hello. Yeah, I need to speak more. Yeah, the kanji is another beast in itself. Like Japanese is a mix of like three different type of languages because of the historical reasons. One is kanji because it got influenced by Chinese, and hiragana. Hiragana is a simplified version of a kanji, which is used from a long time ago, and katakana is a language developed again in history somewhere. So you get the mix of like 3 languages at the same time. Which one is better, ZBrush or Blender? Of course I'm gonna answer ZBrush. What are you talking about? Well, it depends on what kind of like stuff you're gonna do with that software. So that's a hard question to ask. Yeah, basically it's a troll. So I have 5 minutes left. If you have any questions, let me know. I'm gonna end my stream pretty soon. No problem. Maybe I'm gonna start making the eyebrows and stuff. I should have enough time. you're just gonna start a comment war. So I consider those comment. I consider those trolls because like you're gonna have a different opinion, you're gonna have a different argument, you're gonna talk back, then back and forth, stuff like that. That's just basically trolls. Thanks, Alex. I really don't want to talk bad about softwares or other applications in general, but I'm sometimes tired with like dealing with these kind of like comments and stuff. Yeah, I may want to think about it, but it's hard how you phrase it as well. Like you're not gonna say don't talk about other applications in the channels, and like I don't know how to phrase it, so that's hard. Well, we can say please keep chats to ZBrush specifically or ZBrush related. That could be a possibility, but I don't know. Sometimes it's really innocent, like some people don't really know the difference between two softwares. Like for example, what is the difference between the CAD software and the sculpting software? Then yeah, some people may want to have questions like that. Then that's kind of like understandable, but usually the people asking those kind of like questions know what they are looking for as well. Usually they have the answers in mind and they just want to start a war in the comments. Well, any questions, or should I end my stream? I'm usually, if I try to end my stream, like I find some parts I want to fix, and then if I start fixing, then usually I just go into the rabbit hole of like fixing and not ending my stream forever. So I'll try to not do that. Yeah, so on the next stream I will be doing another model in Japanese, which I'm thinking about a girl with big weapons. I don't have any like ideas for what kind of like stuff is going to be that big weapon, but I'll need to think about this during the weekends. But after that week, so it'll be 2 weeks after this, we'll be back to this Dark Elf. So next week I'll be doing the posing and adjustments to the things I made this week. So I'm doing the streams on this time zone in between 2 weeks. So next week will be in Japanese in a different time zone. The week after that will be the same time zone as this. So you can check the ZBrush Live, ZBrush Live calendar. Here, and you can look up my name, Daisuke, and you'll see that on the next week will be in JST, Japanese time, and then the week after that will be the English stream, as usual. No problem, yeah. Okay, I think we have another stream coming down the road, so say hey to Derek, and see you next time. Thanks.